On January 20, 1942, 15 high-ranking Nazi leaders convened in a mansion on Lake Wannsee, west of Berlin. Cognac and nibbles were served. On the agenda was the organizational, logistical, and material stages for a definitive solution of the Jewish question in Europe. The Holocaust was planned in 90 minutes. Its bureaucratic efficiency remains disconcerting 80 years after the infamous Wannsee Conference that planned it out. The 15-page minutes taken that day do not mention homicide. They talk of evacuation, reduction, and treatment, and assign the responsibility to various government agencies and relevant specialists. That practice is chilling, said Holocaust expert Deborah Lipstadt. It's all really subtle. Consider the list of countries and the amount of Jews planned to be killed. 11 million people were targeted. They had high dreams. The anniversary of that tragic encounter comes at a time when Holocaust survivors are diminishing and antisemitism and white supremacy are surging in Europe and the US, along with attacks on Jews and ethnic minorities. The Texas synagogue hostage-taker seized a rabbi and 3 congregants last Saturday. In Germany, officials publicly warned that far-right extremism and terrorism pose the greatest threat to democracy. The exterior of the 3-story lakeside home that housed the Wannsee Conference remains essentially untouched. It has a beautiful entrance portico and 4 cherub figurines dancing along the roof. The West German authorities debated the building's fate for decades. Survivors asked the government to turn it into a Holocaust museum and memorialize the murderers' atrocities, but officials stalled. Others considered razing it to the ground so that nothing of this home of horror remains. Early on, Joseph Wolf, a Jewish resistance fighter who escaped an Auschwitz death march and later became a recognized historian, advocated for repurposing the mansion. Remember, 6 million, he pinned a note in Hebrew over his writing desk. You can give the Germans with evidence until you're blue in the face, Wolf wrote to his son in 1974. A democratic government may exist, yet mass killers can roam freely, build their own homes, and produce flowers. Unsuccessful in his endeavors. Until the 1980s, the villa was a school trip hostel. It wasn't until 1992 that it became a memorial. Today, historian Jan Beckman, who organizes tours at the Wannsee Mansion, describes himself as a champion of remembrance in Germany. But decades, a generation. But for many, the Wannsee Conference is a distant memory compared to the liberation of Auschwitz or the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. As an uncommon date, it commemorates the Holocaust perpetrators, exposing the Nazi state's homicidal apparatus. Reinhard Heydrich, the powerful chief of the security service and the SS, had been put in charge of a final solution by Hermann Göring, Adolf Hitler's right-hand man. Heydrich invited prominent government and party officials. They were mostly in their 30s, 9 had law degrees, and over half had doctorates. The genocide was well underway when they met at a table facing Lake Wannsee. But the meeting established the groundwork for a machinery of mass murder involving the entire state apparatus and ultimately millions of Germans in various positions. That's where the red tape came in, Lipstadt remarked. Adolf Eichmann, chief of the Interior Ministry's Jewish Affairs and Eviction Department, was asked to take minutes. His 15-page protocol, marked secret in red on the opening page, has only one survivor. After the war, American forces found it amid foreign ministry files. From a detailed data chart of Jewish populations across Europe, Eichmann's protocol summarized the task. With previous approval from the Führer, evacuation of the Jews to the east has now been replaced as another conceivable solution, the protocol read. Around 11 million Jews will be considered in the final solution of the Jewish question. The text then went on to outline the ultimate solution. Under adequate supervision, the Jews are to be employed in the East, it read. Building roads in these areas will be done by huge groups of Jews, segregated by sex. Undoubtedly, a major amount will be lost due to natural decline. Those who survive must be treated well because they are the most resistant. The evacuated Jews will initially be carried, group by group, to so-called transit ghettos, it said. It has been advised that the relevant specialists in the Foreign Ministry consult with the appropriate official of the security police and the SD. It was bureaucrats' language. The complete eradication of the European Jews, Hitler's senior propagandist Joseph Goebbels wrote in his diary after reading the minutes. During a visit to the villa this week, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, Germany's current president and former foreign minister, voiced his extreme unease and disgust after reading the protocol. He recognized the document's style and language. Aside from the meeting substance, the templates and processes are identical to those still used in ministries and administrations, he noted later. It's the mundane, the familiar, that frightens and disturbs us. The Wannsee Conference's 15 participants all directly participated in the Holocaust. Others created the legal framework for genocide. By 1945, 6 had died. But only 2 of them went on trial after the war. The Argentinian Eichmann was executed in Israel. 1949, Wilhelm Stuckert, author of the Nuremberg race laws. 3 others received light terms for unrelated actions. 4 were never charged. After World War II, Gerhard Klopfer, a top officer in Hitler's chancellery, practiced law. He died in 1987, leaving behind a legacy of a fulfilling life that benefited all those who came under his area of influence. Witnesses to Nazi atrocities are dying 77 years after the Wannsee Conference.